theme of looking at the mindfulness of breathing and ways into that as a practice. A couple of weeks ago I was talking about, or we were looking actually, in fact, through a meditation at the boundless nature of awareness, and boundless, not infinite necessarily, but unbounded, when we were looking at our somatic experience, the body, not having any discernible edges to it. And I think we also looked at the cloud of sensations, how sensations can appear kind of vibrational, as it were. That often what we think of as being a fixed sensation, like our sitting on a chair and the feeling through our bum, that being, when explored, not so straightforward. And we've been doing this exercise with looking at the hand and how the hand appeared as a very outlined and kind of clear-edged phenomenon when we're looking at it, but when we go to it in our somatic experience, it appears differently. So today I was going to talk about access concentration. So the mindfulness of breathing, its purpose, perhaps you like, in Buddhist meditation, is to help us get into absorbed states using awareness of the breath. It's something that the Buddha taught and recommended. The purpose of absorption is ultimately to integrate, stabilize the mind, so that we can start to look into the nature of things, of reality, things as they are, in order to gain the sorts of insights that will start to free us in deeper ways from the suffering that arises from our conditionality. And the Buddha recommended dhyana and absorption meditation to help do this as part of that sort of process of integration. So the mindfulness of breathing is the meditation practice that goes most fittingly with that integration stage or integrating aspect of meditation as we teach it in Triratna, or practice in general as we teach it in Triratna, in terms of the mandala of practice and the 5 different dimensions of it. What to say about moving into absorption, moving into dhyana. So we might already have experienced this stage of access. So access concentration is where the 5 hindrances, which hopefully we've all heard of the 5 hindrances by now, but this is patternings of the mind that keep us out of states of absorption. So you've got restlessness and anxiety, you've got ill will. Those are the kind of high energy hindrances. You've got the low energy hindrances, which are sloth and torpor, desire, doubt and indecision could also be considered that. Well, doubt and indecision could be both high energy and low energy. So these are the 5 hindrances. So they're just ways of kind of categorizing patterns of our mind that we need to work with in meditation to go beyond these 5 hindrances in order to start to get absorbed. And in fact, the definition of absorption, you could say, is the abating of these 5 mental, emotional hindrances. So yes, this is where we start to get to a point in meditation where it's less easy for us to become distracted. Lee Brassington, who is written a book called Right Concentration, which is I really recommend if you're interested in looking at absorption and dhyana and access concentration. Access is access to dhyana. It's a very good book. He describes it as a state of indistractability as we start to move into access. So in terms of meditation practice, we become aware, we get into our soma, which we've been doing a lot of, we get into the direct experience of the body, of the sensate body. We notice what the mind is doing. We might notice that it's in one of those hindrances. And one way to look at these hindrances and work with them is an energetic way of working with them. There's various different methodologies about how to work with these hindrances. So traditional Triratna teaching on the hindrances that you might have encountered, you know, if you've done an intro course or follow-on course, look at the hindrances. You've got the antidotes, like just coming back to the object. And if the hindrance isn't very strong, it's quite easy to come back to the object, and that just is enough to make that hindrance abate. If it's stronger, there are other antidotes that we can apply. So we can start to look at, if a hindrance is particularly strong, we keep getting stuck in it, keep going back into it. So restlessness, anxiety. Look at cultivating the opposite of that quality. So relaxation would be the opposite of restlessness and anxiety. I'm just going to screen share. Oh, hang on. Just got to see if they're open first. Got a couple of diagrams which are about the energetic way of working with the hindrances. Sorry, a bit of delay. Just see if I can find those. Okay. So we can work in it in a more deliberate way, involving the mind and our thinking, but we can work about it in a more just purely sort of energetic way. And found these, so I will in a moment screen share them with you. Yeah, so can you all see that? Yeah. So yeah, we've got this energetic approach to the hindrances. So particularly works if we're working very somatic way in the meditation. So the hindrance of desire, craving, our mind keeps going back to sensory objects, whatever that is, food, sex, whatever our mind is going to, and the energy's kind of going out from us. It's almost like the energy's forward of us. It's a bit like desire, as it's trying to sort of grasp onto something out there in the world. With the hindrance of ill will, the energy's going back, so it's a bit like we're wanting to push away. We don't want this experience, and we're kind of pushing back. With sloth and torpor, the energy is generally sinking down, so there's this sense of sort of falling down through the body. With restlessness and anxiety, which is quite a mental hindrance, the energy is very up in the head. And with doubt and indecision, it's also a very mental hindrance in it usually, and it's just whirring around on itself inside our head. So we can feel where the energy is in relation to that hindrance. We find ourselves caught in sloth and torpor. We can feel that the energy is going down, and we can then readjust the energy by moving it in another direction. So stop that share and start another one. Can you see that one?
You just need to scroll it up a bit, please.
Okay, is it too, I'll make it smaller. Is that better?
That's great, yeah.
So, okay, so we've got the, we've got those directions. So the thing to do energetically is just move back in the opposite direction. So if you can feel the energy going all up into the head, coming down into the body. If the energy is sinking, we can bring the energy back up. It's often better to move it right up to the head or even to the top of the head. If we've got desire, the energy sort of moving forward, bringing it back into the center of the body, back into the heart space is good. If there is ill will, similarly, pushing away kind of energy, trying to bring ourselves back energetically to the center. Doubt and indecision, again, just coming back into the soma, coming back into the sensate experience as a way to counteract that hindrance. Okay. So, yeah, continuing with access concentration. So if the hindrances start to abate, we're still applying effort to staying focused on the object. So the object, might traditionally be the breath, or it can be any part of the somatic experience. Those tingling sensations that I introduced us to a couple of weeks ago, we could focus upon those. We can focus on the kind of somatic space of the body, but staying with the somatic experience as our object of concentration. Keeping the effort relaxed, it's important to keep a balanced effort in meditation, always looking for a relaxed effort that enables us to go closer in. So, one tendency is that we can get rather willful in meditation. So we get kind of over-focused, and I suffer from this, particularly when, I think it's a young person's thing. I suffered from it when I was younger quite a lot, of a kind of willfulness, a sort of desire, such a desire to get concentrated that I would become almost over-focused, and that would flip me out of the meditation, because in a way that's an expression of a craving. The energy is going out in front, and you're trying to kind of get some kind of experience in meditation. So the right amount of effort is just enough effort. So we're trying to use the minimal amount of effort for something. So in a way, it's kind of a new way of efforting. For most of us, I think a lot of the time we tend to effort too strongly in our lives, and we can get done a lot more done quite often if we're just a bit more easy about our effort. Yeah. So staying with that relaxed effort, mental activity starts to abate to some extent. It's not that there isn't any mental activity there at all. It's just that it takes a kind of back seat when we start to become absorbed, when the hindrances start to die down. It could be a bit like overhearing thought rather than thinking that I am thinking. So the thought takes a background seat. I always think about it, it's just in the background, kind of start ticking away there. So it's not that we're necessarily completely beyond thought. In fact, even getting absorbed into the dhyanas, thought can still be going on. So if we can manage to stay, I mean, Lee Brassington says if we can stay in access concentration, so that's being with the object, still some background thought going on, but we're by and large just staying with the object of the meditation, the breath, or whatever it is, for about 5 minutes. That should be enough for us to enter into access concentration. Then what to do? So at this point, what can be really helpful, and Lee Brassington suggests this approach as well, that we start focusing our attention towards the pleasure aspect of the object. So it's looking for pleasure within our experience. So this could be with the breath. We can start to notice the pleasurable aspect of the breath. It could be in the soma, in the somatic experience. The tingling sensations can have a pleasurable aspect to them. We just switch our attention subtly towards the pleasure itself rather than the object itself. So it's a subtle shift in our attention. This can surprise some people, that, you know, focusing on pleasure within the meditative state. But yeah, this is what the Buddha discovered. You know, he discovered that there are pleasures to do with our experience that aren't going to lead to craving. So the pleasure in meditation, in the meditative experience, is one that leads away from craving rather than towards craving. So pleasure starts to become our more subtle object. And generally, as we start to become a bit more absorbed, the subtlety that we need matches that level of absorption. So the further we go into the absorption, the more subtle the effort that we need to make. Subtle shifts. So we just keep sustaining that. We're not in dhyana yet. We're in the stage of access concentration, which is what leads into dhyana, sort of absorption proper. And we'll come on to that another week. Well, I'm not sure whether next week or the week after, looking at a bit more closely at dhyana. Okay, so I've spoken for quite a while. I kept it as short as I could, just felt I needed to make a bit more of a thorough introduction to access concentration. Important thing maybe to remember is we can't make things happen in meditation. We can't make access and absorption happen. All we're doing is setting up the conditions to allow it to arise. But it will arise on its own when the conditions are there. So we don't need to worry about that. And if we start to, you know, there's the tendency that we fall back into the hindrance of desire, because we're wanting to have an experience. So we just keep attending, knowing that setting up the conditions is all we can do in meditation. That's the only place that we can work. So we're doing everything we can do, and the effects of that in and of themselves are going to be there. So we don't need to worry about whether or not we start to get absorbed. we simply just need to keep attending to those conditions. Yeah. Okay, so we could have a chance to ask any questions later, but I think maybe we'll just start with go now to doing a meditation. So, want to set yourselves up for meditation. Get your posture in place. There's these two elements of the posture that we can attend to. The element of grounding, the support of the earth through the cushions or chair, the ground coming up to meet us, a stable base to the posture. That stable base enables us to relax and let go. Psychologically, we could see it as the support aspect, the holding. The other element of the posture, the other aspect of posture is poise. So rising out of the stable base, the spine lifts up. The neck is long but not stretched. The chin tucked in but relaxed. There's room for an energetic flow at the base of the spine, the pelvic floor, right up through the body, to the neck and the head, and out through the top of the head. So the stable base of the posture provides the support, the holding, the uprightness and the free flowing of energy up the spine. Gives the dynamic, responsive, energetic aspect of the posture. Just relaxing whatever can be relaxed in the body. Shoulders, the neck, the face. not holding on anywhere. It's the bare minimum to keep the posture, and everything else can just relax. So notice whatever is going on in awareness. Notice whether there are any hindrances present. If the thinking mind is going back to particular thoughts, energetically in the body, noticing where we are, very much up in the head, wearing with the thinking mind, or is there sinking down through the body? Sense of fatigue or sloth and dullness. So if it's sinking, bring the energy up to the top of the head. Feeling very tired, just open the eyes very slightly to let in some light. If you do notice that we're in the hindrance, but it's only a slight hindrance, we'll probably counteract it simply by coming to the object of awareness. So we could be feeling the breath in the lower abdomen, and just simply coming into the sensate body. The somatic experience. Maybe open to the whole of the somatic sphere, all tactile sensations. Or if we prefer, we can focus on the breath, sensations of the breath around the face and nostrils. Making sure we're attending to actual physical sensations rather than mentally constructed or imagined versions of them. This is important. with the actual physical sensation. So if we are using the breath, making sure that the breath is left as it is. It's not being controlled by the mind in any way, or willed, or altered. The breath is completely natural. The breath on its own, without an I there doing anything. So if you're still noticing hindrances arising, you can use the energetic antidotes. So if it's desire and ill will, it's a tendency for the energy to be going out of the body, usually in front, coming back into the body, the opposite direction, energetically speaking. If there's aversion, pushing away, not wanting experience, energetically coming back into the center of the body, the sensations in the abdomen or in the heart. If the energy is traveling upwards in restlessness, doubt, or just wandering thoughts, back in opposite direction, out of the head, down into the body, down into the sensations in the lower abdomen. Really coming into the sensations themselves. So rather than looking down from the head of the body, actually trying to come into the sensate body itself, in the lower abdomen. Checking that we're applying the right amount of effort. The right amount of effort is just enough effort to stay with the object. So if we feel that we've managed to remain with the object undistractedly for a little while, let's start to shift our focus. Look if there is any pleasurable sensations associated with the object. So if we are focusing on the breath, say, coming in through the nostrils and mouth, we find the pleasurable aspect of that experience. Or if we've been focusing on the sensations in the somatic body, the tingling sensations, noticing the pleasurable aspect of the tingling sensations. It's like we shift our focus very subtly onto the pleasure itself. The pleasure become the object. that's working for you, that's great. If you're finding that difficult to do, it might mean you need to stay with the object, with the sensate object, a while longer. So you can just come back to the sensate object. Breath in the nostrils, tingling in the body, movements in the hara. If you're able to stay with the pleasure that's going on with that. Very relaxed. And the focus at this point, it's very subtle. So allowing ourselves to experience the pleasure without grasping. A very receptive experiencing of the pleasure. We are starting to come into access, absorption, thinking will still be there, usually, much more in the background. It's like we're overhearing thought, rather than it being in the foreground of our experience or dominating our experience. So access, still not dhyana, and it's actually quite unstable. We can find ourselves being pinged back into the hindrances. So if that's the case, this could be remedied just by coming back into the somatic experience, coming back to the body sensations as the object of focus. If we've gone back into the hindrances, we might need to apply a stronger antidote, such as cultivating the opposite quality for a while. If the hindrance is particularly persistent.